Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here with a, as promised, 7-round mock draft. All of the Vikings picks here broken down. Now, we're going to begin with some recent picks made in this the mock draft sim that I did using the Pro Football Network version, which, by the way, they're all broken. I can't avoid it. Matt Corral goes to Washington, number 11, so QB's off the board. Derek Stingley, number 7, to the Giants, who also, again, I said it was broken, stunningly took George Karlaftis, number 5. Other edges, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson go 3 and 2. So at pick number 12, I'm taking Ahmad Gardner, who I would not be shocked if he ended up being CB1 in this year's draft. He was dominant over 3 years as the number 1, I'd argue, player for the Cincinnati Bearcats. In Minnesota, as we've discussed many a time, they still need, in a pretty big way, some cornerback help. His numbers in 2021, Ahmad Gardner, he was targeted 40 times, allowed just 20 completions for 131 yards. In his entire collegiate career, he never allowed a touchdown. He barely allowed 700 yards, 700 yards of passing offense. 4 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. If you want a physical bump and run press corner, this is your guy. Now, speed is a potential question mark here for Gardner, but I think the production, and by the way, Bama barely even looked his way, an indication of, I think, how Bama felt about him. You want a potential number 1 corner? Be a great pick here by Minnesota. Other guys who are on the board. I thought long and hard about David Ojabo. If Gardner had been gone, probably the route I would have gone, given some uncertainty around Danielle Hunter later on. But the idea of adding Gardner as a potential number 1 corner for a team that's still searching for one. He and Cam Dantzler have the size and length to be potential great press bump and run guys. I think it was too good to pass up. I thought about quarterback, too. Kenny Pickett was still on the board. So grade the pick of Sauce Gardner. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys have to say in the comments section. Drop a grade for me. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Some recent picks for round 2. Zion Johnson out of Boston College goes to the Jets. Trent McDuffie goes to the Bears if you wanted a double dip at corner at a nickel guy. Linebacker Chad Muma off the board at Denver. 2 edges. Kensley Enigberry to the Browns out of South Carolina, and Drake Jackson goes to the L.A. Rams. I was a bit surprised to see this man still on the board. Desmond Ridder, the Cincinnati Bearcats quarterback. So you know what? I didn't even plan to do it. We're going to go back-to-back Bearcat picks here. Ridder is actually my quarterback 3, QB 3 in this year's class. There is no true quarterback 1. I got a second round grade on him, so from a value standpoint, I actually like it quite a bit. He's shown the flashes of being a true starting QB at the NFL level. He's still inconsistent. There are a good 4 or 5 throws each game that just make me go, oh, what are you doing, Desmond? It was right there. Don't make that throw. That was bad. You're better than that. But he's got a good arm. I think he does a much better job of processing, especially pre-snap, than pretty much any QB in this year's class. His motion is a little bit long. Yeah, I'm worried he might only end up being more of a Jalen Hurts type. If he hits, though, I think the apt player comparison is probably Dak Prescott here. Now, I think he's good enough under pressure. He's a little late at points, but the arm, the upside, some of the processing, I think make him a very intriguing day 2 target if he ends up falling there. Other guys who were on the board. What I really thought about here were the 2 edge rushers. Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State and Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati, because the edges just fell that way. A lot of Bearcats, which is not what I planned to do. Thought about Devontae Wyatt, too. Could have gone defensive tackle there, got a bit of an impact penetrator from that perspective, but I don't think Kirk Cousins will be here that long term. I think a guy like Ridder could be a good fit in Minnesota. So should the Vikings draft a QB? Type Y for yes or N for no. Now, maybe Kirk Cousins sticks around for a year. Maybe he sticks around longer. Maybe he still ends up getting moved despite the rumors saying not. I think long term, I would consider one. If one fell, probably to round 2 is where I would consider it. Let me know what you guys think. Why for yes and for no. All right, round 3, recent picks. Quay Walker falls pretty far there. Sam Williams off the board, an Ole Miss edge rusher. Thought about him. Logan Hall probably would have been my pick outside of the guy we'll get to in a second. I think he's a potential impact interior guy / edge. Darian Kennard off the board, the Kentucky tackle. I had gambled in round 2 going, okay, I want one of those edges. They might not fall to me, but I want the QB. I'll gamble on an edge sliding. And one did in the Sims. Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State, who had a breakout year after spending most of his time at Temple. Put this in perspective for you. His final year at Temple in 2020, and this was, again, COVID year, I get it, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. His lone year at Penn State, he doubled that production. He went and played better competition and doubled his production against better tackles, etc. That carries value to me. Given the uncertainty around Danielle Hunter and those other edges, I think a good football player, I got a second-round grade on him, in Ebiketie, would be a fantastic addition here in round 3. High school wide receiver. He's a little short, but he's got long arms. I think that makes him a reliable 3-down player. There's no elite trait, but his juice is solid, his strength is solid, his production was more than solid. Other guys on the board, round 3, my Jay Sanders there, but I can't go 3 straight Bearcats. No way on that front. Travis Jones out of UConn, if you want a new run stopper, is there. Linebacker Brandon Smith. And I thought about Darion Kendrick, but I don't like the idea of having to deal with a situation where all my guys are outside picks. So I passed on it from that perspective. Now, if you want the best NFL draft coverage on YouTube, then go subscribe to Chat Sports, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. We'll be live for the entire NFL draft, breaking down every single pick, coverage anchored by yours truly. So if you want more draft coverage, go subscribe to Chat Sports. We'll put the link in the comment section in the description for you guys, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Round 5, again, we're jumping ahead here. We'll go quicker on some of these guys. Troy Andersen, who I think producer Jack might like. He's got a pretty crazy story. At Montana State, first off, he played very well in the Senior Bowl. That's a good sign there. Andersen was the FCS Defensive Player of the Year. That's not all he was at Montana State. High school QB, plays running back in his first year at Montana State, and was the Freshman of the Year. Gets pressed into playing QB for a year, was all Big Sky at QB, moves over to linebacker, was all Big Sky and All-American and the FCS Defensive Player of the Year. He was awesome at 3 different FCS positions. You know how crazy that is? This is a sleeper name. The athlete testing is going to end up mattering here. He did miss some tackles for Montana State, but even though Minnesota's drafted linebackers in recent years, last year, Troy Dye and Chaz Surratt, I don't mind the idea of adding another one in round 5 since those two guys concerningly didn't play that much this past year. Other guys who were on the board, Leo Chenal kind of fits. I think he's going to go earlier, so I want to mention that. Marcus Jones, you want a nickel return guy? that's your guy. I like him. He and Sky Moore. Again, the simulators are all broken. All of them. Sky Moore and Marcus Jones, I bet money will be top 75, top 100 picks at minimum, not on the board at pick 156. But we're stuck with what we can do here in the end. Now, if you want news, rumors, draft, free agency coverage, and more on the Vikings, hit that big red button and subscribe. We are close to 2,500. Our Titans channel, by the way, catching up ground. But I want to catch our Lions channel here. What a joke of an organization that is. Let's catch them. You want more Vikings videos? Subscribe right now. All right, round 6, James Mitchell, who was on the board for me in round 5. I don't know if Tyler Conklin's going to return, and I liked Mitchell in 2020. I saw some flashes of him as a potential move pass catcher type tight end that very much intrigued me. He barely played this year. Got hurt. That's a big factor on that front. He's only going to be 22 as a rookie, good size. He also, by the way, got goal line carries for Virginia Tech. He had, in his past 3 years, he had a grand total of 7 receiving touchdowns. He had 7 carries, 5 rushing touchdowns for Virginia Tech, which is just kind of fun and crazy from that perspective. So potential Tyler Conklin, not a great blocker. That's why he falls all the way down to round to a wrap. All right, others on the board here for round 6. Tyreek Smith, who I think is going to go earlier. Caleb Evans out of Missouri is there. Bubba Bolden, Neil Farrell Jr. on the board. Emeka Emezi, if you want to go with another receiver vertical threat. The Vikings have several 6th-round picks here. This is the Pro Football Network sim. Comp picks are projected ones are included here. So we'll get to the other picks in round 6. First up, Neil Farrell out of LSU. Big-time run stopper. If you want to move on from Michael Pierce, this is a potential very cheap replacement option. He's an older guy. Don't get me wrong on that front. Older player and doesn't play with the top-end power you'd expect of a guy as big as he is. Also has some decent juice and burst off the ball for a big-time player. 9.5 tackles for loss this year. He is a bit of a one-year wonder. He's a bit of a sleeper for me, though, as well. I haven't seen much hype around Neil Farrell. I think I'm going to have a top 100 grade on, depending, of course, on how testing ends up going. The other pick in round 6, Bubba Bolden. You might know him from the hyped USC to Miami, Florida transfer. Big name to an extent. I am intrigued with him as a later day 3 guy. The athletic traits are there. Some of the flashes are there. He's got the frame. He's a good athlete. He's decent filling against the run. He's painfully inconsistent. Better-ish in 2020, by the way, but he's missed tackles in recent years, and I don't trust him in coverage. So special team, I think there's some upside here, and maybe the assumed potential of being a highly touted recruit eventually ends up coming true. Now, what do you think is the biggest need for the Minnesota Vikings? Let me know what you guys think it is right now in the comments section. Round 7, pick number 230. Now, this is a name that many of you might be familiar with if you follow the Group of 5 college football. Reggie Roberson Jr. out of SMU. You want some speed? This is your guy. Unfortunately for Roberson, in terms of his draft stock, he peaked 2018, 2019. He's also pretty skinny. You can see it right here in this photo. Like, he's got a thin frame, right? Vertical threat. Hands have been a bit of an issue. He's not a great yak guy in terms of making players miss. But, look, we're in round 7. We're betting on a trait that maybe becomes more. That's the speed of Roberson. And to be honest, it's round 7. So there's literally no such thing as a bad pick. You cannot go wrong in round 7 because you're just guessing if we're being honest anyway. Remember, folks, to subscribe for more Vikings draft coverage here on Minnesota Vikings Now.